Hey everybody, welcome to this quick speaker preview we're doing for the event called authormarketinglive.com. I'm joined today by closing keynote speaker Johnny B. Truant. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing excellent, Jim. Thanks for having me, and thanks for having me be part of the event and all sorts of fun stuff.
So the event is in Cleveland, and if you are a sports fan, you know that Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, was signed by the Cleveland Browns this week. And I'm thinking about putting a post up on social media saying, "Come see Johnny in Cleveland." And it's really the famous Johnny B. Truant is who we're going to see.
Right, of course. Probably a lot of people will fall for that and be disappointed or delighted, one of the two.
Which is why I'm thinking about doing it, not doing it. So again, Johnny is going to be the closing keynote at Author Marketing Live this summer, and I'm super excited because if you don't know who Johnny is, you need to check out the Self-Publishing Podcast, which is the #1 podcast in the self-publishing, indie publishing industry today, with Sean Platt and Dave, and also the author of multiple books, including a nonfiction book, which has kind of become one of the Bibles of the industry in its short time that it's been out there, called Write, Publish, Repeat, and also a litany of fiction books. And Johnny obviously has the experience to bring to the table in terms of how to build a writing career, how to market your books. He's innovating with ways to sell direct. He's innovating with. I'm glad to have you here this summer. I'm very excited, and I know people coming are going to be excited as well.
Fantastic. I'm excited about it too. This is going to be a fun event.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. So let's talk a little bit about what you're going to be presenting, because I know people are saying, well, you know, I can listen to this guy on his podcast and I can read his books, and what's going to be different? What do you think that you're going to be able to bring in person to the event that's different from everything that you teach and talk about on your podcast? Because I believe that meeting people in person and learning from people directly is always the better choice if you can, even in the technology world we have now.
Yeah, actually, this is a really, really appropriate time because I just came back from Denver from Copy Bloggers event, and the energy of being there live is just astonishing. And it's amazing to me. Like, I've gone to a bunch of live events, and every time I go, I sort of hesitate because I don't really like to travel. And what's great for me with Author Marketing Live is I don't have to travel, so that's easy. But I always sort of hesitate because I don't want to be away from home. And then I go, and then it's like, well, why did I even consider not going? And I kind of want to make my announcement now. Can I make my announcement because it ties into this?
Yeah.
Okay. So the official, you're hearing it first here for the first time, is that Sean Platt, my co-author, and one of the other people on the podcast will be joining me. So you have a dual keynote, which is fantastic. He's now official. And we can't get Dave out of his redacted location. He won't travel, much like leftovers. And but Sean and I will be there. And Sean and I went to this last conference, and just the energy of meeting people and networking is fantastic. And so, yeah, I mean, you can listen to us all day, you can read our book, but being there live and being able to have these discussions with people and just meet people, even if you don't. If you feel like you have something to say, if you don't feel like you have something to say, it just doesn't matter. It's the energy, again, of being there and possibilities that come out of that.
Yeah, you learn this over time. I mean, I've been doing this internet business for 18 years. I don't travel as much as some of my peers do, but I've been to, probably 30 to 50 shows in the last 5 years, and I got to tell you that the connections that you make with people change your business. I mean, did you meet and connect with people that you think can absolutely change the way or help you in the future, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a stack of business cards here, and I'm not even a business card person. Like, we failed. We didn't bring business cards. Actually, we brought. I can't reach them right now. But we brought these big free download things from Kobo, which I'll bring as well for Write, Publish, Repeat if you want to get it on Kobo. But we didn't bring business cards, and so I don't ask for a lot of business cards, but nonetheless, I have a stack over here, a very small, select stack of people who it's just like, I know this is going to change my business. I know it's going to. These are new connections. I don't know whether I should say any of them, but they're potential people that we're going to work with, or guests that we're going to have on, or and not even like uh, people that anybody would know their name necessarily, just casual connections where I know that those things are going to bloom because you're meeting evangelists for your work and all sorts of great stuff that comes from. You can't get it unless you sit down opposite someone and talk right to them. I mean, we meet in person all the time.
Yeah, we do because we both live in the Cleveland area and we have lunch every couple months, so it's great. But and I feel like I'm more connected with you. I feel like I know you more as a person because we actually do meet in person, and I think that strengthens. I don't know, it's kind of weird to say. It strengthens the bond you have with people when you actually meet them. You know, I don't know. It means a lot to me when I go to conferences and I meet people. And I got to tell you, I've been to a lot of shows and I've made friendships and business partners that I have people that I really trust and rely on. So that's why we're doing it in person. There's only 150 people, so it's going to be a small, intimate event. The room could only hold 150 people, but that's fine with me because I don't want 5,000 people in the room right now. I want 150 people in an intimate setting to come in and be able to interact with one another and learn from people like you and be able to network and do all of those things. Because I think you're going to get way more value from that than being through, trying to weed through 2,000 people, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So you're gonna do the closing keynote with Sean, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about what you guys plan on presenting. We've been billing this as you guys talking about the process of write, publish, repeat. But I want to make something perfectly clear for people. This is not just for people who have written books. This is for people who want to write books. Okay? Because people are saying, "Well, Jim, I don't have a book. I can't come." No, it's for people who are thinking about writing books, and the advantage you get by coming to an event like this before you write a book is learning how to do it right the first time. Johnny, can you talk about how many mistakes that you have made in the process of building this writing career?
Well, there's about a billion things I could say about that, and one of the things, and you can bring me back onto track because I guess I'm going to go off here, is one of the most flattering things that we hear from podcast listeners, and we heard it over and over again this last week, is when people say, "You got me to start writing," and I realize that I can't do that without patting myself on the back a little bit, but it's true. Like it's great to be. It's great that people are exposed to us and then feel that they can write. I mean, we make mistakes all the time. To answer your question a little bit, but we consider that to be part of. I mean, you know this. You're an entrepreneur. Like you're not a risk averse guy in this, and I think that failure in business goes hand in hand with success. You mess some stuff up, but you learn from our failures. You know, we've done a lot of trial and error, and we now know like what works best and what works best for us, and what are the core principles that you can take from the specific things that we do and generalize it to something that you do. And what we're going to talk about, just as sort of as a high level thing, is the way to take your writing from a pure art to an art business hybrid, to actually start thinking in terms of being an entrepreneur and a publisher rather than just somebody who sits down and writes a book. So it's never too early to start thinking about those things. What do you want your publishing business to look like? Do you want it to just be a hobby? Do you want to just create something that creates $100 or a few $100s a month, or do you want to build a full-time business out of it? And we've done the latter, and we can speak across the gamut. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
It's interesting you say art. I just did a recording with another speaker from the event, Jay Thorne, who's a top 5 horror writer on Amazon, and he said the word art a lot. He writes what he thinks he considers to be art in his horror stories, and there's a lot of people who write books in any genre, whatever they write in, do consider themselves artists, and the stories they tell as art, and taking the mindset of artists and not throwing it away. Nobody wants you to throw your art away and sell out and become a marketer, but just adjusting your mindset and using your art to build a career, to build sales, to build readers, which is something that you preach about in the book and all the things you promote, is something that everyone has to do. They have to do this, or unless they just don't want anyone to read what they've written.
Right, and that's why I did the double check there, where I said art. I said go from being an art, and I said go from being a pure artist, because I firmly believe in art. I don't want anyone to listen to what I just said and think that I think it's about commoditizing. The way
No.
that we put this in Write, Publish, Repeat is we believe you should be an artist first, and then a marketer second, or a business person second, but that's in chronological order. So when you create, I feel that our stuff is definitely art. But then once you're done, you need to not be so precious about it that you won't consider things like, well, should this be edited to make it more, not to pervert it, but to make it more pleasing to a reading experience. Do you think about cover design, and where do you lead the reader next? And I think a lot of people are a little precious on their art, that they don't want to commoditize it, but good luck ever making a career out of it and having more time for it then.
Yeah, and that's what this whole show is about. So if you want to come to Cleveland this summer, and people always say, Jim, why are you doing this in Cleveland? And there's a couple of reasons. Number one, we're from here. It's a great city. It's very inexpensive to come here. We're going to have a really first-class event here at a wonderful hotel in downtown Cleveland, the Renaissance. We're going to have really comfortable seating. It's going to be a really first-class time, and you're going to have a great day of learning. And the cost, it's not expensive to stay here. It's not expensive to get here. And somebody said, well, you should do it in New York, or you should do it in L.A. And I'm like, you know how expensive it is to get a hotel room in Manhattan or in downtown L.A. And maybe we'll try to do that in the future. But when you bring people together in an intimate environment, and I've done small shows like this before, there's really something special that happens between the attendee and the speaker. The speakers get a lot out of it, but the attendees not only meet with people who are in the similar boat, either trying to write a book or trying to boost their career, but also get to interact with people like Johnny, who can, just maybe give them that one tip, right? That one thing that could completely change the way that their art gets discovered, right? I mean, it's something, and I hate to keep harping on this point because. But that's really why I'm doing the live event, and that's why I love having people like you come in and actually meet, because it's just going to be something super special, and I'm really glad you're going to be here. I will have to have Sean on as well to talk about to interview him as well moving forward. So, all right, so we talked about what you're going to talk about at your keynote, and we talked about why Cleveland, and we talked about all that stuff. I'm trying to figure out what else can we tell people. Johnny, what can you say to somebody who's watching this right now to say, you really need to be here? Why is this important for you to come to Cleveland and come to this event?
Well, I mean, I think the most important thing is the in-person, the things that can occur, and the serendipity that can occur in person. But I will add that by the time people are seeing this, I don't know when you're going to put it out, but definitely by the event, we will have done an experiment, Sean and I. It's called Fiction Unboxed, where we wrote a novel. I'm putting this in the past tense because I'm imagining you in September, where we wrote a novel in 30 days and let everyone watch. And the whole point was to demystify the idea of telling stories. And I think that authors, that's something too, that it's a black box process. Like, how could I start a novel? How can I slug my way through one? How can I finish it? And you wait for the muse, and it's all very mystical. And we have a lot to say about that, and we will have even more to say about we sit down every day and write for a scheduled period of time, and that's how we churned out 1.5 million words last year, because it's a job. It's going through a process. It's doing the work. It's not considering it to be some precious thing that relies on fairies. So we'll have a lot to say about that as well.
Yeah, and it's going to be great, and I'm assuming you'll share. You just said you'll share results of that campaign and how that worked. One of the things I love about what you guys are doing the most, and what I think everyone who's an entrepreneur, and by the way, when you're an author and you're trying to get your books out there, you're somewhat of an entrepreneur. You need to be, is watching and seeing who's leading the space, and Johnny's definitely doing that, and getting inspired by things they're doing, like this Fiction Unboxed, this Kickstarter campaign, and now how you're going to start selling your books directly. I mean, how is that going to impact your bottom line moving forward? Are you going to make more money from that? Again, seeing somebody do it and failing for you, right? If they fail, they're going to tell you what they did and why it was a failure. If they succeeded on a grand scale, There's absolutely no reason you can't look at exactly what Johnny. I say this all the time. I've said this to you before. I said there's no reason you can't just do, if you want what they're doing, do the exact same thing. It's just you have to follow the process and learn from people who are already doing it. You have a huge advantage when you learn from people who are already making it successful, as opposed to you just trying to figure it out on your own. And that's why this is just going to be such a great learning event for having you guys here. So.
And the other thing that I'd just like to interject there, Jim, is that one of the things that you'll get out of both of us, or all three of us if Sean were here, is the idea that yes, you can replicate someone else's success by doing what they're doing, but we show strategies, like why are we doing what we're doing? What is the big picture reason, rather than some sort of push this button, pull this lever, which is way more valuable. It's the teaching you how to fish rather than giving you a fish sort of philosophy.
And the last thing I want to leave you with is I'm making this argument for people who tell me they don't want to come. They can't. Here's the one thing I get a lot. Jim, I can't afford to come to an event like this. Well, first of all, the ticket's only $150. Okay? Now, you have to get yourself to Cleveland. Flights to Cleveland are pretty darn cheap. I've estimated that the average flight to Cleveland is about $225 from anywhere in the United States if you find a good deal. The hotel room's under $200. The cost investment of coming to Cleveland for this full day, I estimate, is under $500. And somebody's like, $500 bucks, Jim. That's unbelievable. I can't believe I'm gonna have to spend $500 for a full, for this thing. And they blow off the idea of coming to the event. And the argument I make to them is, how much money are you gonna spend on ads that may or may not work for you, on all kinds of other promotional opportunities that may or may not work for you? I want people to think of this as an investment, and hopefully you'll agree with me. Being able to invest in coming out and meeting with people and building these connections and getting this learning, this agenda is unbelievable. From Facebook ads to email marketing to audiobooks to publishing careers. I mean, we have an amazing agenda. Invest your money in the right place, which is to come and learn and meet with these people. And I totally believe that you are going to get more from that than just dropping a bunch of money on an advertisement and waking up the next morning and hoping you sold a bunch of books. Would you agree with that?
Everyone is in a different place, but if I would say the amount of money that I would probably tie over time to my few days in Denver are in the tens of thousands, right, easily. And the connections that I have today, I don't believe in a using style of networking where it's very quid pro quo. But that said, the friendships that I made online and then solidified through in-person events at South by Southwest, Blog World, whatever, over this time are the reason, a large part of the reason that I have more resources to draw on today when I need help with things or advice or anything like that. I mean, it's absolutely an investment.
Yeah. So think of it as an investment. And we have a whole post on the website, authormarketinglive.com, where you can go read about that argument. And hopefully you'll believe in that argument, because we want to see you there, because immediately after Johnny and Sean's keynote, we're going to have a networking event just 100 feet down the hall where people can come and actually shake your hand and ask you some questions and maybe get some advice, and maybe make a connection that changes their book success in the future. So
we love meeting people. We met a bunch of listeners just recently, and it's always great.
Yeah. So thanks very much for taking the time to do this. I'm very excited to have you there. You're on the final closing keynote. I'm super excited to get up there and introduce you and Sean. And I know that people are going to get massive value if they just take the leap and buy a ticket and come on out, because it's really going to be a first-class event, and I know you're going to really enjoy it. So, Johnny, thank you for your time today, and we'll be talking soon.
Of course. Thank you, Jim.
All right, everybody, check out authormarketinglive.com. Go grab a seat. We have already started selling tickets. I don't know when you're watching this, but it may even be sold out by now. And I would suggest you grab your seat now. You can book your travel later, but grab the seat now before the seats are gone. So everybody, thanks very much for watching. Johnny, thank you. And we'll see you on our next speaker preview video coming out soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.